Back to President Donald Trump now, who has taken to Twitter once again with more controversial comments, this time saying he won't allow transgender people to serve in the US military in any capacity. The leader's move reverses plans put in place by Barack Obama's administration to begin accepting transgender recruits. Let's go live to New York and also to Louisiana and speak to Democratic strategist Bernard Whitman and president of the Family Research Council and former veteran of the US Marine Corps, Tony Perkins. Hello to you both. Thank you very much indeed for joining us on Sky News this afternoon. Tony, to you first of all, if I may, why are you applauding this from the president?
Well, first off, this was a policy that was put in an 11th hour by the Barack Obama administration, further social experimentation in our nation's military. And this was in process. It had not been completed. Military officers, the leaders, were asking the administration to take action on this. They were concerned this was not working, and they were not able to prepare for what was going to be required of them to make this work, if it could work. And so the president, in his typical style, realized this is not in the best interest of our nation's military. It does not help the military accomplish its mission. And so he said, we're not going to go forward with it. This is a policy of the previous administration, and we're changing it.
Bernard Whitman, why do you feel that the decision by the president today makes the country less safe?
Tony, I could not disagree with you more. This latest pronouncement is disgraceful, disgusting, un-American, will make us less safe, and exposes yet another lie that Trump sold to the American people. Just as he said he would repeal and replace Obamacare on day one, just as he said he would bring coal mining jobs back, that there was no collusion and conspiracy with Russia, he stood on stage last summer at the Republican National Convention and said he would be the #1 protector of the LGBTQ community, and he lied straight to the American people. 1,000 transgender people serving currently in the U.S. military, making the U.S. military the #1 employer of transgender people in the world. This is not a social issue. It's an economic issue. It's a military readiness issue. This issue was discussed, debated extensively, and frankly, to quote Ash Carter, anything that would have us pick and choose our military personnel on something other than military qualifications, that is social policy. This is absolutely disgraceful.
Tony Perkins?
Well, for all the reasons he just pointed out, that's why this policy has been reversed. It was a social policy. Look, our military, not everyone can serve. It's not here for the benefit of individuals. It's for the benefit of the country. If you have flat feet, if your eyesight is not appropriate, there are a number of disqualifiers for our nation's military. And for someone who is confused about their gender and wanting the government to pay for a gender reassignment surgery, that's not what the military is there for. And the president, listening to his military leaders and those who have served in our nation's military, realize this is not in the best interest of our nation's military nor security. And so therefore he made this decision, which quite frankly just goes back to where we were a year ago before the previous administration put this policy into place before they left office. I mean, look, this was Ash Carter pulling the pin on a cultural grenade and throwing it in on his way out the door. This administration saying, no, we're not going to let it happen. We're going to protect our military and its mission and its purpose.
Could not disagree more. Could not disagree more. The fact is that this is politics, plain and simple. Secretary of Defense Mattis, who is on vacation this week, completely caught off guard, completely surprised. He said a few weeks ago that the policy was under review and would take about 6 months. And just as the congressional Republicans are playing politics with healthcare, Trump is playing politics with the American people's lives and with military readiness. His single greatest fact that he cited in his tweet this morning was the cost for gender reassignment surgery. Let's break that down. The cost is estimated to be $5.5 million, which roughly equates to about 2 trips to Mar-a-Lago. Also, the $5.5 million is about 5% of what the U.S. military spends annually on erectile dysfunction drugs. That is a complete red herring. This is politics and animus, plain and simple, Tony, and you know it, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
Not sure where you're getting your numbers, but the actual numbers range somewhere between 1.5 and 3.7 billion dollars over the next 10 years for these procedures and hormones that would be required. That's the equivalent to one naval destroyer. It's the equivalent to 22 fighter jets. Look, when our military is scrounging through museums to get parts so they can fly planes, this is not a place we need to spend money. Just this week, the Secretary of Defense lamenting the fact that $28 million was wasted by the previous administration on the wrong uniforms for Afghan officers. So look, this is about making our military effective. It is not about affirming some political agenda that the previous administration had. Our military is there for one purpose and one purpose only. That is to defend America and make America strong from a military standpoint, not from a social standpoint.
First of all, that $5.5 million is from the RAND Corporation. Perhaps you've heard of them. They're one of the most respected organizations in the entire world that does cost analysis of this type. And Tony, I think it's time that you took your hood off, quite frankly, and explained to the American people why you are so gleefully excited about this. You, frankly, sir, are a bigot who hides behind religion to hide the fact that you are disgusted and revolted by people who are different than you are. That is plain and simple. Litigated, discussed,
part of it because I've served our nation in the military. I have been willing to volunteer and serve in our nation's military. I know what it's like to be in the military and be in confined quarters. I know what our military is there for. It's not like you would like, sir, to be used for the advancement of your radical social agenda that only 23% of Americans agree with. The vast majority rejects your ideology and what you're trying to do to the men and women who are serving faithfully and honorably in our nation's military.
The fact is these people are serving faithfully and honorably. They are patriots, and Donald Trump has decided to pink slip people who are putting country first and making a very, very hard decision.
We're talking about
risking their lives.
0.5% of those who serve. We're talking about 0.5% of those in our nation's military. We're talking about the other 95.5% who, for instance, women being forced to shower with men, women who think they're women, who have all the biological parts of a man. We're talking about commanders trying to wrestle with the issue of what do you do if you have a pregnant man? That's literally in the training that they're forced to do. Military leaders are complaining about the fact that under the previous administration, and it's carried over, they're having to do all of this training time on transgenderism, sexual harassment, instead of preparing for war and defending this country. Look, this president did the right thing, and I hope he's going to continue to do the right thing when it comes to our nation's military, of putting its primary purpose first, and that is preparing to defend this nation by being war fighters, those who defend and those who are prepared to defend, not those who are advancing this radical agenda of the left.
I cannot understand how you could possibly disagree with the fact that the qualification to determine whether or not you should serve is whether you are able to serve in the military. You, my friend, are promoting a social policy of discrimination because you simply cannot stomach the idea that people are different than you are.
It's the same policy that the military has had for years. And the fact you speak about being able to fight, the reason that this is a concern and a cost factor is that many of those who go through these transitions, either through hormones or through the the gender reassignment, are non-deployable. So they're taking up a billet, but yet they cannot defend or fight for this country. That makes absolutely no sense, and that's what the president said this morning. We're not going to do it.
I'm sorry to say that you would have been a perfect defender of keeping the military segregated back in the 40s and 50s. That's the exact same argument.
That's a tired argument.
It's actually true, Tony. Look, it is true. You're probably just as happy if the military remains segregated.
I know you guys, I know you have no ability to defend your position, and so you go back and try to play a race card and say this is the same as male or black and white or other racial segregation. It's not even the same. There was nothing that kept men of different ethnic backgrounds from fighting. This does. When they come into the military and they choose that they're going to go through a gender reassignment, they're non-deployable. They can't fight. In fact, this continues to be seen as a psychological issue of having gender dysphoria. And so this is still classified as a problem in our nation's military and in the culture as a whole.
Guys, can I just interject there to say that we are almost out of time, sadly. So final point from both of you, if you would please. Bernard, to start with you.
I would say the UK is our strongest ally. The UK accepts, welcomes openly transgender individuals. Researched this for years. The generals were on board with it. Trump is playing politics once again with American lives and American security, and it's disgraceful.
Tony?
This was not researched for years. This was something that was done in the 11th hour by Barack Obama's political appointment to the Department of Defense. He threw this policy onto this administration, in evaluating it and returning to what the purpose of the military is, said we're not going to do it. And the vast majority of Americans applaud that.
Good to talk to both of you. Thank you very much indeed for sharing your views with us here on Sky News. Thank you.